What is up, guys? I'm Tony Durhammer, owner of Hammer Tech Race Cars, and you know what today is? It's Wednesday, so it's time for What's Your Problem? Wednesday. We're having a lot of fun doing these videos, getting this information out for you guys, and getting a lot of great feedback, so we're going to keep it going. This is episode number 4, so hopefully you've been following along. If not, you can go back and watch episodes 1 through 3 and get caught up. So today we're going to talk about 3 things. Now, before we talk about these 3 things, this is a value exchange. So if you get some value from this video, give us some value back. Give us a share, give us a like, leave a comment, tell your buddies. That's how we ask for the value. We're not asking you for any kind of money. We're just asking you to help share it. So we're trying to get the word out for everybody, help them be more successful and get all these car counts up, and everybody have more fun racing. So number 1 we're going to talk about is weight savings versus horsepower increases. Number 2, we're going to talk about when does your street car need to become a race car. And number 3 is part life cycles. Everything's got a life expectancy, including us, so we're going to talk about that. Number 1, weight savings versus horsepower increases. We all love adding horsepower. It's the most fun part of racing is, man, I added 50 horsepower of this, I added 100 horsepower, I added 400 horsepower over the winter, all these things. But maybe you're already having issues of, your transmission is only lasting 10 laps or things like that, to where adding horsepower is only going to compound these problems. So I get this situation quite often, like someone comes in and says, hey, I'm running this class with my car, my engine's maxed out, I have to run it at full tilt to run with these guys, and I'm breaking transmissions, I'm having all these issues, I think I'm just going to park the thing for a while. And it kills me when these issues come up, because it's somewhat easy of a fix to look at when you're talking to these guys. Is most of them are full interior, they're super heavy. Let's try to save some weight and get you back out there. So your transmission issues, your engine issues, all these things are compounding from pulling that weight down the track to run that ET number. So like example, if you're out there running an 890 class, an index class where you have to run as close as you can to 890, and you weigh 4,000 pounds, we know it's going to take around 1,100 horsepower most of the time to get you to that number. Now, if you weigh 5,000 pounds, you're going to have to add about 300 horsepower to run that same number with those guys. So it's adding a lot of strain and a lot of potential issues in your race operation just by being heavy. Now, a great way to think of it is, in the quarter mile times, 100 pounds is equal to roughly 1/10 of a second. So if you can save 100 pounds, you're going to drop 1/10 of ET off most of the time. Or if you're going to add 50 horsepower, you're going to save the same amount. So think of 100 pounds equals 50 horsepower. Now, you guys know, if I'm going to add 100 horsepower, that's a pretty big jump. Can I save 200 pounds? Probably. There's things on your car that you can look at. Do I have 2 batteries? Do I have a full interior? Do I have 2 seats? All these things, that the little things will add up in a hurry. So if you can save 10 pounds here, 5 pounds there, before you know it, you've knocked 200 or 300 pounds off your car, and now you don't have to run your engine at max tilt. So in drastic cases, we've saved guys 1,000 pounds just by changing. If they have a water intercooler, we go to air. You don't have to haul around all the water. You don't have to have the pumps. You don't have to have all the lines. All these things will add up in the end to where even when you get light enough, you don't have to have 2 nitrous bottles in your car. You don't have to have 2, 3 turbos on your truck or whatever it may be. You can run just a single, and you save all that weight of the CAC piping, the turbos, the fuel pumps it takes to supply all the power you used to use. Now it's much easier on everything. Your transmission is going to last longer. All these parts are going to be happier. So your horsepower to weight ratio is a great thing to look into. So keep in mind, the faster you go, this number will not be. So if you're out there running 650s and you knock 100 pounds off and you think, man, HammerTech said if I drop 100 pounds, I'm going to go out there and run 640. Well, that's not going to be the case when you're going that fast. Or if you add 50 horse, you're not going to drop a tenth if you're already running 650s. So it's a great time to just sit back and think, man, it's the winter time. I'm going to look my car over. Maybe there's a system on your car that, you know, you haven't used all year or the year before or anything like that. You can just remove those things, little unused nitrous solenoids or whatever it is. I'm sure you can go out there right now, look at your car or your truck and think, yeah, I don't really need that. One of the things that I tell people a lot when they come talk to me is if it doesn't make the car run or have a performance gain and I can't throw it to the finish line, we're not going to put it on. So it's a great way to just look at your car and think, man, let's try to save as much weight as I can so I'm not running everything maxed out and have a lot more life expectancy. And maybe it's the time that you think, man, maybe I need to do fiberglass front end. Maybe I need fiberglass doors. Maybe I need to step up to Lexan windows. You know, all these things can be a performance gain without being adding horsepower. So great time to look at that and get a plan together to where, you know, you can have more fun and not be breaking stuff at the track. So number 2, when does your street car need to be a race car? And should it? You know, this is a tough transitional phase I see a lot of people struggle with. Story goes, you know, I've had this car since I turned 16, this truck since I turned 16. I added a turbo, I added a nitrous, I added a supercharger, whatever it is, and it got me to this power level, and then I had to upgrade my transmission, and then I had to upgrade my rear end, then I put a spool, and then I put slicks, and then I put this, and the list goes on and on and on. And it just kind of builds up to this point where you're driving around on this street car or street truck that's got 1,000 or 1,500 horsepower, and yeah, it's a blast to drive on the street, but it's not really good at either one. So it's not really streetable, and it's not really good at the track yet. So do I need to dedicate this thing to becoming better at the track and less driving on the street? That's something that you got to weigh out. So, I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. If people that know me, I would drive a 7-second street car to work almost every day, but that's just me. Now, saying that, I'm sure it would eventually get me in trouble. I would have tickets out the you-know-what, but these are the things you want to weigh out. You know, doing rolling burnouts down the interstate's fun. Lining up with that 90-year-old dude in his brand new Corvette and smoking him to the next light, that's a blast. But we need to be responsible and think about what we're trying to do in the end goal of what do I want to use this car or truck for. So maybe it's time to make it a race car. You know, bring it to the track, get these car counts up, bring the bigger payouts because we have more cars at the track, and bring new sponsors to these events and get the money out there for you guys to get a hold of and have more fun doing it. So you know, that's one of the things that is a tough transitional phase. And you know, I'm a horsepower junkie just like the rest of you guys, but we need to be smart about it, and taking stuff to the track is always going to be the safest option. So we don't want to see you guys getting 5,000 tickets or, you know, ended up with your car crashed or, you know, worse. So we just wanted to put that out there and get you guys some information on when does it need to stop being a street car. Now, I'm not saying don't ever take it on the street, but do you need 1,500 horsepower to drive to work? Probably not. So now, if you do, you know, come work with us, because that's kind of how we are, but that's beside the point. Like I said, think about the time when it's time to stop being street car and it's time to start being race car. So once you make that transition, you can start focusing on getting your ETs down and really push the thing to the limit. So number 3 is part cycle life. Now, everything has a life expectancy, including us. So you need to think about the amount of runs that you have on your stuff. Now, hopefully you've been watching the previous episodes and you're keeping track of how many runs you've made this year, what parts you've changed, so the part counts on, or the run counts on your parts at this point. So do I have 300 runs on my transmission, my engine, my driveline, all these things that are probably overlooked. So if you can't even tell me how many runs you've got on something, it's time to look at it. So I see guys all the time that you ask them, how many runs you got on your tires? Well, I don't know. Well, did you change them this year? No. Did you change them last year? I mean, that's a huge thing to keep track of, how many runs you got on your stuff. So if you can't tell me how many runs are on it, you probably need to look at it. Do I need to have my engine refreshed? Do I need to have my transmission gone through? The driveline is commonly overlooked. Just pop the diff cover off and look at this thing. You don't want to be going rounds and going into the final and something happened where you end up losing the race because something stupid little part ends up screwing you and you lose. So even the little things like your nitrous solenoids, do they need rebuilt? I rebuild them every winter so that when we start off, Q1 of the next year, I know everything's fresh and it's going to have the duty cycle that I tell it to, as it did last year. So commonly overlooked things are like your shocks. Are they leaking? Send them out, get them resealed, dynoed if you can, to where exactly the data that you're using. So U-joints are massively underlooked. You put your car together the very first time and you never look at it again. Same thing with your driveline stuff. These things, your brakes are another thing that you look, once you get your car together the first time, it's not done. These things aren't going to last forever. You need to look at them constantly so it's not going to end up biting you in the butt. No matter how good they are, everything is going to die at some point. So we don't want you to be going in the final and your transmission fluid's 300 degrees and it got smoked the last round and you not have a way of fixing it. So we're putting this information out so you guys can be at the track and enjoy yourself and actually go out there and try to have performance gains instead of going out there and having to fix issues. So that's all I got today. Like always, I appreciate the support, guys, and it's a value exchange. So if it helped you, help us. Tell your buddies, give us a like, give us a share. Just get the word out. That's all we're asking. Hopefully it helped you. We're having a lot of fun doing it. And like always, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.